All right, it's good to go ahead. So, like he spoke about dressing, just to reiterate for both genders, please dress neatly, dress confidently, dress decently, dress corporately. And two tips to help you with dressing is pay attention to your body type so that when you're styling corporately, you dress according to your body type. And you also pay attention to color theory, like he emphasized. Some colors will naturally make people to have a certain psychological perception about you. So that's something you want to work on and control from your end. So from the email that I read at the beginning of this video, we spoke about accreditation starting by 7 a.m. and the interview starting by 9 a.m. I understand people had to travel in, like you, from different parts of the country into Abuja at different points just to participate in the interview exercise. So how was it? Talk to us about it from arrival, accreditation, and everything in between.
Okay, so I came in, I was drunk. Someone brought me to the venue. So the person dropped me, and then as I came down from the vehicle, I just to feel comfortable. That was when I chose to put on my jacket. So like, no pressure, nothing they happen. So I got to the gate, and then it was then I felt that seriousness that comes with what is about to happen hit me, and they told us that form a line. So I just saw everybody on the line. So it just felt like you're entering the gates of heaven and you will be checked and stuff like that. So it felt like it was at that very moment that certain things could be told to some persons that will not be pleasant, like, hey, you're not welcome here. But I just stayed on the line, tried to hold on to the confidence I already had about my preparedness, my dressing, and that I'd made it thus far, and also that God was sure to help me. So at the security, they asked for the slip, and if you had any excessive material, they wanted to know what was it, what were you carrying. So they were being security conscious as to knowing that people are not coming in with anything crazy, but at the same time knowing that you had a business to be in the premises that day. So after we did that, another set of persons still with the security, we also, I believe, check the slip again. So there's a bus. So when it came to we moving from the entrance of the gate.
So just to reiterate, you go in a queue.
Yes,
they
through
check
security.
and ensure you have the slip.
Yes.
They check your documents there.
No, they don't check your documents.
Okay, they just check your slip.
Like your slip and then what are you
what
with?
You carry for security. Exactly. Then you get into a bus.
Yes, so right. That's it. So the company, so this was at the NNPC Towers in Abuja. So the company made provisions to ensure that the way the candidates were moved in, they handled it. So nobody drives in, everybody just drops there. So if you came with one Mercedes Benz, you come down, you trek, like all of us, get on the queue. So we got into the bus. So when the bus was filled up, and when I mean filled up, not when one person is lapping another person.
I understand. You're coming from Lagos, so I understand you need to reiterate all this information. But Abuja people, so everybody in Nigeria is not trying to die. You understand? Like, we don't wake up and how can we die? How can we struggle to die? But go on.
Yeah, so everyone tries to pick, a seat. And interestingly, the middle, it's the coaster bus. So you can fold the seat in the middle. So some people too are humble enough to sit on that seat, and then they drive us to a particular area. I don't know the technical word. I do not remember the technical word they use for it, but it's like a common place because there are 4 towers in the company. So that central place in between the 4 towers is actually this place I'm trying to refer to.
Is that like a muster point?
It has that feel.
Okay.
It has that feel. So it's wide, it's open, it's central. The towers are like at the corners of a triangle. So
It's giving Babel, but continue.
So you come in there and it gets even more intimidating because you now see a whole lot of people are seated. It's almost like, you know, the way it looks sometimes in the football stadiums and people are just surrounding a circle or a rectangle. So you just see that people are
So
already.
this outside, yeah.
So no, this is not the way they design the complex is you are not in the main building. That's you're not inside.
You're in a building, but not the main building.
Yes. So it has a roof. It has a covering at least.
So is that like a theater? Is that like a lecture theater?
No, it's not a lecture theater. It's somewhere.
Is this the amphitheater?
No, this is not the
Okay,
amphitheater.
this is not the amphitheater.
No, this is not the
But
amphitheater.
let's say this is waiting area, something like that.
Yeah, so this is where we did accreditation.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
So you come in there and then you just sit down. People are not trying to talk to themselves. You just feel the tension in the atmosphere.
I must enter. If it's only one person, it's me. I get it.
So you see people in the way they are dressed. Some people are wearing kaftan, some with suits, some with ties, some with their school bag, and you know that they actually just recently traveled and things like that. You see ladies, you see guys, no discrimination. Everyone just find a place to sit down.
People everywhere.
So we then begin to try to observe what is taking place. So there is some movement that people are moving towards the left. So people that we are sitting, let's say to the extreme left, they get up and they tell that's the people that are seated to occupy the seats of the ones that were just vacated.
Oh, okay.
So we are moving.
As people are moving, you're feeling
exactly
circle of life.
Exactly.
Go on.
So we're moving from right to left. So in the midst of that area, they come with slips. So these are NNPC staffs, and they come with a kind of document. So this document was a kind of, it's just like a non-disclosure agreement, sort of. Not really, but it's more like trying to say, my documents are intact. I'm not doing anything fraudulent. It's just a kind of something cautionary.
Okay.
So just something cautionary.
I was afraid that you signed NDA and you didn't tell us anything.
No, not that kind of. Just to have a sense that it's a formal document. So you feel that you sign it and then you give it back to the persons that are given the forms. So as you do that, you see on the pillars that support that structure, we are still at the point of accreditation. You now see that they have pasted a list of the way they want the documents
to be arranged.
Okay. So they tell you that, hey, look at this and arrange your documents after this order. So someone against you speaks, like makes himself audible and calls everyone's attention and say, this is what this is for. So as you do that, you now get to the point where you begin to see other like stations, desks with staffs seated on the desks with laptops, and candidates are being told to arise from their seats and walk towards those staffs with the laptops. So those are the people that carry out the accreditation. So in the midst of that, you also have the cameramen that, as far as they're concerned, nothing they happen except they can just get a nice picture of you and maybe get you to smile and
smile for the camera. 10 years from now, you'll be doing throwback. Okay, go on.
So the cameraman also tried to take some pictures of what's going on. So that was actually good too, that they were trying to have some form of media coverage of the exercise. So when you get to this desk, you meet the staff, and once again the staffs are very warm-hearted, very cheerful. Hey, good morning, how you doing? Hope you're okay, hope you're ready. Well, how's it doing? How was your trip? So they just make you feel calm and at home. So you see the screening slip you are given. So you present the screening slip because you also need it for the whole process. So they scan it on the system. like it has a QR code. So they just put it on the camera of the system and it's like brings up your profile or
Yeah.
something like that automatically. So they then begin to ask you your birth certificate, your this thing.
Original copies.
Exactly. So these are original copies. Interestingly, I actually did not have to use any of the photocopies I had with me. It was just the originals I made use of throughout. So something that is quite key is that from the way they structure their process for your degree, if you did not have second class upper, that's the point at which, even if you had passed the CBT, they send you back.
Wow.
Like that was quite sad for some people because it's like I've made it thus far.
Yeah, and traveled all the way down.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
I hope you heard that again, but I'll reiterate later. I will.
So apart from that, too, people that have their results not in the 5.0 format or it's not first class, so you also need to be able to try and explain the way your result is in a manner that they can
understand,
classify
the
it
Nigeria
and
format,
see if you are qualified to continue in the
with
process.
the process. Okay.
So those were the key things. They just try to look that the documents you have are correct. Your details are the ones on the documents you bear. So when they verify all those things, they do a kind of signing or putting a seal of you are cleared. And there's someone that writes something on it. And later on, I understood that that was the classification of where you were going to have your interview.
Okay.
Like
So they handled that from the beginning.
So they they just classify you quickly. So once you take that slip, you then walk, and then you have people like ushers, as if it's a ceremony or something.
It is. I mean, isn't it? Yeah.
So they usher you now into one of the towers. So we walked into the towers, and when we walked into the towers, you see a big, beautiful room they call the amphitheater. So that room had seats that were
level by level,
rising seats, like a stadium setting, but much more comfy.
Or like a lecture theater.
Yeah.
In a university.
Oh yeah, much more comfy. The seats are sofa, like you feel like you want to sleep and lose your home training. I get it. So they also had a very big TV screen up on the stage. There's a podium. So as we came in, they began to speak to us and say and tell us that there's an energy hub. So I was wondering, I was like, what's the energy hub? Is it like a place where we could see some of the things NNPC has done, models of things in the industry? So they now made it clear that what they are talking about is a place where you can have breakfast.
I am 7. That's so nice. So, prioritizing the mental health and physical well-being of young people. By asking them questions to make decisions about their life and destiny.
So that was really considerate once again.
Yeah, it was. Oh.
To go along with that announcement, they had one NNPC song like that they composed. Energy for today, energy for tomorrow.
Yeah, they used to play it for energy and something on YouTube.
So that song, they just played it once in a while to just help us have a vibe of welcome to
inside.
You're inside.
You enter.
So let me try to be much more quick with the processes.
Okay, I think I'll just speak briefly so I can catch your breath because you've been talking for a while.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's been exciting to hear and learn about the process for that day. So before he continues in the next less than 1 minute, like he mentioned, in this situation, people that had degrees that were lower than a 2-1 were required to have an MSc to back it up. So if for any reason you finish from school with a 2-2 or below, this may be a good time to consider getting a master's ahead of your next application, not just for NNPCL, but probably for any other application you want to do. I also saw some information that people that had diplomas like ONDs were required to come with a copy of their transcripts so that they could have a more in-depth knowledge. I don't know if they were also required to maybe have an advanced degree. So for some people, yeah, the whole school is a scam thing. First class is automatic door, second class upper, you knock on the door, second class, this one, they open the door for you, then you have to beg to enter inside, all this kind of things. So in certain situations, as much as there's the need to skill up in certification and grow in qualification, there's also the need for some people, depending on what where you fall in, to get an advanced degree that allows you to compete with people and live a fulfilling life. So yeah, how was the interview?
Okay, wow. Okay, just before the interview, they acquainted us with a safety video telling us where we were in the complex, telling us how we would be able to navigate in the case there was an emergency. And there was something where the HSC officials say that they don't have any safety drills planned for that day. So if we hear,
Beep, beep, beep.
yes, we hear alarms, then we should take it seriously and respond appropriately. So they also did this kind of presentation, not too elaborate, but they had stuffs on the screen trying to let us know that from accreditation, you come to this place, then this is what you have to do. When you're done with your interview, these are the other procedures that follow that we'll get to also.
Excited.
So that was how eventually they called certain officials that came, and then they began to call the numbers we had on a slip. So you
So this is like
identify
is it your applicant?
your
Oh, okay.
applicant ID or
Okay.
application ID.
Mm-hmm.
So when they call it, they began to classify us according to some of the things that had been written on our slip
Earlier.
earlier for the accreditation. So you had people that came for, let's say, business admin. They will call someone and they will tell all of you follow this person. That those numbers that are called, we go with that person. So another person comes and then they call people in engineering with that number or with their applicant ID, and then they go with that person. So I was for IT. So there was a particular lady that came. So they called our numbers. Among the number of us that they called at that point in time, we were 9. So the 9 of us followed her, and then we began to move through the complex. So interestingly, work was going on in the complex. So people were at the office. These are people that were not.
Oh, wow. Poverty is so bad. Do you know what he said? Work was going on because, like, they're constructing and they're showing them against safety hazard. Like, but yeah.
So primarily what I was saying was that the certain people were in their rooms, their office, and doing their normal duties while we, the applicants, and some of the staffs were handling the recruitment process. So we had to enter into this elevator, and about 14 or 15 of us had to get into
It was quiet.
the elevator. And oh my, the tension just kept increasing, and I was like, I hope we are not going to fall down. Our weight is not too much. So, however, we got to the place they had prepared for us. So these were people's offices. But inside the office, you had desks arranged with seats. Then you have a central seat where the applicant is going to sit on to be interviewed. So we had to wait and we were called in according to our turns. So when it was my turn, it took a while. It took about 13 to 15 minutes per applicant to go into that room and come out. So when it was my turn, I tried to calm and relax myself, and I walked into the room and I was thinking about it. I was like, I've come this far and I just have to put my best. I just have to show that I'm deserving to make it to this phase and even to make it beyond. So that's how I came in to the room. And as I came in, I saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
People.
I saw 5 people, but one of them had ushered me in. So that's the 6th person. So I later understood that the person that ushered me in was the human capital management or what many of us know as human resources or HR. So that was a HR person that ushered me in. So we are seated and just everybody was serious, and there was this chair that they had just separated in this, like in the center of the room, and they were all around me, and they invited me to come and have a seat. So calmly and confidently I just smiled, sat down, greeted them. So there's someone that is central to you, that the person is sitting and facing you.
Okay.
So she's, in my case it was a
She.
lady, so she is the chair lady. So it could be different. In other rooms you can have a male person, so it doesn't really matter, but there's someone that is in charge of that interview panel. So it was that lady. So you then had other persons around. So you had people that were IT oriented, that were, excuse me, that were in that room to interview me on my expertise.
Okay.
So if I say I'm an IT
They have
professional,
IT people.
so
in
they
the room.
have some
Okay, that
IT
makes
persons
sense.
that will ask me IT specific questions. So they have someone from HSC that is also there to ask you questions on health, safety, and the environment. Then you have someone that is corporate sided. So the person is more aware of the organization, the business, and regulatory procedures that take place in the organization. So everybody in that room had specific roles that they had to play. So when I came in, they tried to make me feel relaxed, and I also tried to stay relaxed because it was vital to give a beautiful presentation. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So the chair lady introduced herself, and in a very professional but warm way. She told me that everyone is going to also introduce themselves to me. So she points and they begin to introduce themselves as if I'm very significant, I'm so
You're
important.
important.
And of course, at that point in time, you are, because they have to make sure that they can
They need
evaluate
you
you.
more than you need
Yes.
them.
So that was how everyone introduced themselves, including the HCM or Human Capital Management personnel that had brought me into the room. So she then told me next that they are going to ask of me to now introduce myself to them, but that I'm not going to be scored or graded on that
Okay.
statement. So really the question is that question that is popularly asked at interviews: tell me about yourself, or can we get to know you? So it's the same question. So I did introduce myself to them, and they were grateful and glad. Oh, thanks for introducing yourself to us. So we're going to go ahead now to other questions that are going to be graded. So they asked me about my academic background and how that relates to the,
The organization.
the organization and even the role I'm seeking for. So I had to try to highlight specific things I studied in school and how those things I see applications or how I have applied them in the past. So I then also had, okay, then they also were taking notes to try and grade me and identify certain things I said that were worthy of marks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was asked another question by someone else on the panel, and they asked me about that's a situational question.
All right.
So they are trying to find out, if you find yourself in this situation while working, how would you respond? So they want to see what kind of skills do you have, maybe like teamwork, ability to collaborate with people. So I also go ahead to identify a previous time when I have worked with people and the scenario, the skills, the lessons, and things like that. So I then had an IT question about, I am given a laptop, it's underperforming, what are the things I would do to fix it or identify what is wrong. And so I also have to go step by step to explain what I'll do, how I would troubleshoot the problem. So that's quite specific to my field.
Yeah, I can see that.
So then I was also asked about businesses in the organization.
Okay.
So they asked me that what businesses do I know? What strategic business units, that's the way they call it in NNPC Limited. So what business units do I know? What do they do? So I had to mention
They're
that,
referring to subsidiaries, basically.
yes, subsidiaries, other parts of their business apart from just saying
The
NNPC
HQ.
Limited. So I had to mention specifics, and that's why you had to do some study and
Yeah,
some
research that we
research.
spoke about in the previous
Yes.
video.
So I spoke about those companies or smaller units within NNPC Limited and what they do. So they were pleased with that. And also they asked me about a health, safety, and environment related question.
Mm-hmm.
So the question they asked me was, as a driver or someone that's driving,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't necessarily know if I'm a driver,
Mm-hmm.
but they just ask to see if you are safety conscious.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked that what would you do to be safety aware when you have to drive or even when you are driving. So I also highlighted things I would do while I'm driving or before I have to drive. So after setting of these questions had been asked, and you had to also put up a good presentation, like the way you speak, the way you convince people with the way you are talking, or even try to be a little bit expressive
Yeah.
with maybe hand movements or give examples that are very specific where you have been in such scenarios. They then asked me, that's the chairperson, then asked me, so do you have any questions for us? And I also had prepared before coming that
You are going to interview them. I get it.
that I could have some questions to ask. So because you also want to leave a good impression on them that you're not just looking to get into the room and run out, but you also want to show that
You're interested.
you're interested. So
I'm
that's
chasing you, but chase me small. I get it.
so that's how you ask questions. And so I asked them to try and share things that could help a young person like myself, exciting experiences that they have had in their own time in the company.
You guys. You guys.
So it was, and it was quite exciting because at a point in time, that tension in the room just went out the window, and
it felt familiar. I felt like I was inside.
And we found some good ways to rapport, and one of them shared some things with me and told me it's a good experience I should look forward to having. So I thanked and I appreciated them.
You are looking for the opportunity to be told that you are inside the cover. You are inside.
So I was also polite in the way I greeted and exited the room. So there was a bottle of water that was kept aside, and the HCM personnel spoke to me and said, "Hey, it's for you. Like, you can take the water." Oh, thank you.